Hello, hello. We are here. We are here. We made it. Ladies, say hello to the people.
What up? What up?
I don't know how many people are here. Oh, we got 10 here so far.
Hey.
Okay.
Oh, I see a lot of Vegas people in the building. Shouts out to Vegas in the building. Roseville's in the building.
Long
Okay,
Beach.
from Cali to Vegas. Okay, California.
Long Beach in the house.
Hey, I love it. I love it.
All right, we made it in. We made it in. We've got a lot to talk about today. I'm going to go through some quick intros and we're going to set the tone for the show. And we're going to get into it because what we're not going to do is not give the people what they came for. And that is the value that they're looking for from us. So welcome on, everybody. We're going to do some quick intros. I'll start, of course. My name is Kelani Blackwell. I am the co-founder and CEO of Women in Real Estate. I help women in real estate get access to resources, networks, opportunities that help shorten their learning curve to get to where they want to go. And I also help people build communities around their products and services. So hello, nice to meet you. I'm going to go ahead and pass it down the line so everyone can give a quick intro. Patty, I believe you're up next.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you for having me. My name is Patty Goodspeed. I've been a mortgage banker and real estate investor for 21 years. I'm excited to be here, excited to share the stage with these beautiful women. So here we are.
Hey, okay. What's up, everybody? I am Lady Jade. I'm in Dallas, Texas. I see all these Vegas folks. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I know don't be hating in the comments. No, I'm just joking. I am a media personality for over 20 years. Also a real estate investor, and I'm a realtor as well. And I am just super excited. We are going to have a good time. It's going to be some good conversation up in here, y'all.
Yes. And hi, I'm Naseema. I am a labor and delivery nurse by trade, but a personal finance enthusiast, founder of Financially Intentional. I normalize Black wealth and, bring all the jokes about vaginas. That's my joke.
Not the vagina jokes.
Vagina jokes. We love the vagina jokes.
Is that still hard for people to talk about these days? Vagina jokes?
Oh my God. First of all, most people don't even know where a vagina is, but we can talk about that later.
Oh, well, Jesus, that is going to be a different show.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go. So if you're just tuning in, guys, do me a favor. If you have any questions at all, because by the time we get done talking, we are going to take at least one audience question. And I say one because I think you guys are going to see as this progresses how we unpack these questions. So feel free to chat to us. We're going to respond to as much as we can, but we're going to pick at least one more topic to discuss by the end of the show today. So thank you all for tuning in. So let's just go for it, I guess. I'll be the first one to bring the first topic to the stage today. And I want to talk about what happened yesterday. And so I'll set the tone. I wake up. First of all, I was really sick yesterday. I don't even know how I'm here today, but I opened my phone and none of my social media apps would work except for, and I know Patty is going to love this, Twitter. I mean, X. I mean, Elon Musk's app, his internet, right? So that was the only thing that would work for me. So Meta had, thank you. I tried to remind people, but nothing worked yesterday. So Meta had an outage. So the first thing I want to talk about today is the Meta outage. If you lost your social media, how would you be affected? And I posed that question to this group intentionally because a lot of us market and use social media for marketing purposes. So I want to go ahead and talk about that, and I'll give my 2 cents in a second.
Go ahead, Penny.
I thought it was fun yesterday because you saw people like Elon Musk cracking jokes all over Twitter. The first place I check in social media is Twitter because I feel like if you're not on Twitter, you're at least 48 hours behind all the news. Every time I walk into the house, my mom's giving me some information she heard on CNN, and I'm like, Mom, I saw that on Twitter 2 days ago. So I was personally okay. And I spent a lot of time building my business and reputation prior to social media, but there's no question as to whether or not social media has played a large role in helping all of us grow in many capacities. So I think, it's like, how much do you depend on it? Probably not so much in my answer. It's not that I depend on social media and that Instagram being down was such a big deal. But of course, those dopamine hits first thing in the morning because I was trying to be proactive. I had a scheduled post. I had it all going because I'm trying not to go on there first thing in the morning. My scheduled post hits. I didn't know who could see it, who couldn't see it. And so there's a little bit of a frenzy there. But, when things like that happen, I never actually feel too, scared or worried about where my business is headed because social media might be down. Those are my initial thoughts.
It's funny you bring up the dopamine because I would definitely say from an addiction standpoint, it was like, yo, I'm over here like, what the heck is going, because you think it's just yours, right? And I'm like, well, why isn't anything working? What's really going on? But from a business standpoint, I think sometimes reality will hit you differently because it made me realize I need to grow my database, right? You hear the saying all the time, data turns into dollars. And because I'm so spoiled by social media, coming from an entertainment world, I have not done a great job at building a database. So now I got to figure out, and maybe y'all can help me with this. I have to figure out how to convert my social media followers because, those are all right for me, you know what I mean? But how do I convert those so that when things like this happen, I can still be in touch with my community? Because as of yesterday, I could not. And a lot of my business comes from social media. A lot of my bookings come from social media. And that's just the way that I connect with my tribe, right? And so even though I went crazy at first and then I was like, okay, maybe this is a good break for me, there's a part like, all right, we got to get going. And it's funny, Patty, that you mentioned Twitter because or X, I have not been on there in forever. Since they switched over, I probably have done like 3 posts, but I'm like, dang, it's like another platform I got to keep up with. But if you're saying that that's where the juice is, maybe I should do some switching over then. I don't know.
I feel like it's kind of like on Instagram, it's a lot of it started with pictures, right? So, and then now everyone on Instagram, because of TikTok's growth, is saying, oh, people want less curated content. They don't want you to be perfect. They don't want you to post these perfect pictures, right? So you're changing. Well, on Twitter, it was always about the conversation, right? So it's always about the conversation. So you're connecting with people through your intellect, through your love of art, through your love of literature. It's just a different way of connecting with people. But it's a completely different beast, right? You can explode on Twitter, but it's more like intellectual because you have to be able to articulate yourself well, talk well, be engaging, go engage in posts, kind of similar fundamentals. But news, in terms of real-time news, so over the years, anytime something has happened, whether it's a mass shooting, whether it's a voting crisis, whether it was, which actually probably now that I think about it would be what happened, was it in St. Louis? I can't remember at the moment, where we first really saw crime that was taking place by the police that was completely blown up. And, the whole movement of Black Lives Matter, the beginning of that, everything was being reported first through Twitter, through eyewitnesses that were on the field, that were in the streets, that were seeing what was happening. And so it really highlighted the fact that you're getting real-time information on Twitter. And I don't think if it was for circumstances like that Elon Musk would have put the money into it. There's a lot of real-time things happening there, where on Instagram, it's a pretty curated world. And, we know that with Mark Zuckerberg and the whole Meta team, that there's a lot of filtration happening with information and data and suppression and so on, which they say doesn't take place on X.
Somebody give Patty a job at Twitter because you just told me on that.
Listen,
I don't have any kind of Twitter. Yeah, I don't have any kind of Twitter presence at all. I never was in that space. However, I did have a call with Meta today and to bridge like the Twitter world with Instagram. You know how Threads kind of blew up when people wanted to move away from Twitter. Actually, the Meta consultant was telling me, like, for what you were saying, Lady Jade, to bring your audience kind of off of that platform, and a way that you can start bringing them over to you and have those genuine conversations. So they interact with you a lot and engage with you a lot on Instagram, but you can bring them over to Threads and have real-time conversations with them, and then be able to take them off and put them on your mailing list. So I thought that was like a perfect conversation. It just happened literally right before I got on this. And he was explaining to me how you can use Threads to do that. And Threads, it's what people are using as an alternative to Twitter because a lot of people don't want to be on the platform now that it is known as X. But like for me, the outage was crazy because first of all, I was on my way to work. I was in traffic in the Bay Area, and I was like, let me create a reel real quick. And I was like, really, really happy that I was going to actually have time to create it. And then I couldn't post it because the dang thing was down. And so, but I was just like, I didn't really care. Well, first of all, I thought my first.
Oh, you got muted.
Naseema hit her mute button.
Sorry. I definitely not, I definitely did not check any other source to see what was going on because I didn't have time for that. I just had time to make that post. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I love it, Instagram, for example, as a platform, and I use it a lot, but it is not my bread and butter. And so like an outage would never affect my business or my money.
So I want to talk about that though. And I think that's kind of the angle that I wanted to get at with this question is, and Lady Jade, you alluded to it. You're like, how do I build my own proprietary list? The thing about social media, it's cool. We can monetize it. I saw some recent posts on Threads about how people have really monetized Threads. Like, okay, this is really cool. But the thing is we don't own any of it. If it goes away tomorrow, we're done. So, and it reminds me of this lightning in a bottle moment with Clubhouse that we had during the pandemic, right? So the pandemic pushed us all to this new platform called Clubhouse, and it was lightning in a bottle. I ended up going viral on there. I've never gone viral on anything in my life. I don't even like social media. I don't even like computers, really, if we're being quite frank. And they have changed their algorithm, or the interface of the platform and the algorithm, and all of the whatever thousands, tens of thousands of followers I had gotten in less than a year's time, they're gone now. So now they're trying to make the app a lot more personal. So now you can't even use that when you say, you talk to brands or companies about using your audience or your platform. Luckily, we created a club on there, and that club still has over 70,000 users and members on it. But people don't even use Clubhouse anymore. Right. So if Clubhouse goes away or whatever app goes away, you don't have that. So I think that what's important to take away from this, and we said we were going to be strategic, tactical, we were going to give good advice on here. So if you're listening to this and you are trying to use your social media to market, great. You should always have calls to action to take people off of your social media and put them into your own proprietary database. Period, point blank. I have the smallest social media following out of everybody on this platform, but I probably have the biggest business database out of everybody on this platform, right? So that would be my advice. An internet marketer once told me,
flex like that. It's a family show. Relax.
No, it was no flex, just truth, right? An internet marketer once told me that the organic growth is only going to get you so far, and I'm learning that, right? So anyway, personal.
Okay, so I because I'm one of those like super. I want to be able to apply it. Give me an example of a call to action, because like take me for example. I do have a huge Instagram following. What does that call to action look like for me? How do I convert that over?
It could be something as simple as like a mini chat setup where you ask people to DM you a certain word or DM you their email addresses, a call to action to, get something for free. Or if they're, I think the social media, because everyone, it gives you things in little blips, and I'm not a social media expert. This is what I've learned largely in part from one of my business partners who does everything from women in real estate, but it's always enough to get people interested. And then the call to action is to get any more, you have to give up some information, right? Sure. And then we take that information and we store that information.
Yeah.
I mean, you do a lot of charity work, Jade, right? So I feel like, I've seen you do, from what I've observed, there's charity work involved. I would even suggest saying, hey, if you had I didn't know this until today when I was trying to set something up on my Linktree for this, and that when I go to my Linktree, I can see the analytics of how many people are actually going. So if you go link in bio, I didn't know that until today. So I was thinking, if you have a Linktree and it's in your bio and you say, hey, I'm going to this event, if you'd like to contribute or hear more about it, boom, shoot me, sign up here. And one capture page, because if you build an email base, Kelani forced me to do that. One of the things I always praise Kelani about is that during that time, Clubhouse is the reason reason why I even have a large Instagram following to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And we grew on there. While people were listening, they couldn't send you a message, so they would go to your Instagram. And Kalani was able to take what we created there, what she created there with her own, following, and this the energy that we all created through that app. And she was able to build a community completely outside of that app. So she forced me to do the same thing with my webinar, The Truth Behind the Headlines. Now I have a newsletter that goes out every week to over 12,000 people, and almost 6,000 people a week are opening those emails. And I just did my analytics yesterday and really could not believe after what the spike to the activity in my website after my last webinar. So if Instagram went down, I'm good. My business is still going to keep going.
That's good. No, I appreciate the insight. I know this is going to sound crazy, and this is not like woe is me, and this is not like low self-esteem or anything like that. I think that oftentimes, especially when you're in media and you just do what you do, you have a difficult time of like pinpointing like, what is my skill set? What is it that I have? What type of information do I have that everybody would want, right? And so I'm not going to teach you how to be a host. I'm not going to teach you like, people don't care about that. You know what I mean? So sometimes I say to myself like, okay, my call to action would be, and it's funny you bring up the community service. I'm a huge philanthropist. I have my own nonprofit organization, but it's so interesting that when you post the good stuff, those are the things that don't get the interaction, like people hardly hit like on those type of things. Like people with all the lip service, they want to help and then they don't necessarily come through. So I'm trying to figure out like, what is it that I have that would make people want to connect. So, but I love like the feedback that you guys are giving is great. And how you guys are using your expertise, you know what I mean? It's just, I think we all have to find our niche. That's the big thing. It's like, what is the niche? But we gonna figure that out.
Well, I got ideas, girl.
I have ideas.
Call me later, girl.
We can brainstorm some ideas because I know you got a lot of real estate stuff and people just follow you just for your deals. So, but anyway, moving right along.
I love that.
No, I think it's a perfect point to segue, or perfect moment to segue into Naseema's topic because, and I'm going to say it this way, is talking about social media coming from the four of us, we're all very entrepreneurial, very, very entrepreneurial. So I'm not going to steal your thunder. Go ahead, Naseema.
But basically, we want to talk about like entrepreneurial versus salary, like to make six figures. Like, first of all, is six figures even enough? Like, I know people are saying like that's the goal, like six figures is the goal. And then like some other things we could talk about with entrepreneurship. But
let's define six figures. It's so
and that's the thing. So like, are you making six figures or are you earning six figures, but you're paying out, six figures to build this community or this thing or this product or the service that you're giving? So somebody said, not in Cali. Listen, the poverty level in San Francisco is what, 107,000 for a family of four. If you earn under 107,000, and I have a family of four, I have three girls. So if I wasn't making over $107,000, I would be broke. But however, that's San Francisco. This is just a whole, like a little like portion of the country. Like in some places, six figures is still okay. But
so can I touch on that, Naseema? Because I'm glad you said that. I'm in Texas. We ain't got nothing to like. I can't even compare myself to Cali. I feel Cali, New York. I think to myself, I don't know how people do it because the struggle is real. But even in Texas, like you used to be balling out of control at one point, especially before COVID. If you made six figures, now if you made six figures, it's like super average because life is so much more expensive. When COVID hit, there were a lot of people that were moving from California to Texas. I mean, you used to be able to get like a mini mansion here for like $300,000 at a certain point. But now the cost of living, purchasing homes, girl, milk is like $9. I'm like, it's insane. Like, I don't think that six figures has the same value that it once did. Like, for me personally, six figures is scratching the, like, I hate to say it, it's almost like scratching the surface. Like, to me, that is, if you want to live, an almost average lifestyle, which sucks because the world is so expensive.
but even in that, like six figures as an entrepreneur versus six figure as an employee is gonna hit a little bit different, Patty. I know you review people's income and expenses for a living. So you see the back end. And usually when entrepreneurs say that they are making six figures, are they actually bringing home six figures?
No, I mean, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. So, just to highlight something, in Texas versus California on a six-figure salary, the difference is really $800 a month, which could be a car payment. So, on a six-figure salary in California, you're bringing home approximately, let's say, $5,250 a month. In Texas, that same six-figure salary, based on where those tax percentages are, you take out the state tax, it's only a difference of about 10%. So you're looking at about an extra $800 a month in Texas, right? Mm-hmm. So the argument across, lots of different conversations is six figures enough, right? Six figures is enough depending on where you're living and how you're living to live, right? You can live. But is home ownership feasible with a six-figure salary in the state of California? Not necessarily. Are you going to be able to buy a house in maybe Alabama on a six-figure salary, in Texas, maybe North Carolina, different parts? So yes, it is relative to where you live and how you're living. But a part of this conversation that I think is important is that many people that may not be making six figures, or they're on the path to making six figures, are in their jobs, and they're saying, I'm sick and tired of taking this salary. I feel like my job's not going anywhere. I want to trade this sense of security, this stable flow of income that I have, because I want to go be an entrepreneur. I'm sick of working 40 hours a week for nothing. Well, switching to being an entrepreneur and doing it on your own doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be working less than 40 hours a week, first of all. Second of all, when you walk into that job, you got a roof over your head, you got internet, you got phones ringing, you got a coffee machine. Well, when you start your own, you got to do all that yourself, right? So it could cost more. But the difference is on that $100,000 of income is $8,300 a month that you're bringing in, right? As opposed to, let's say, what we were comparing to California, $5,250, right? So that difference is you're bringing in an extra $3,083 a month, and your tax obligation is going to be significantly less, right? So those are the reasons why people say, I want to trade this security because I want to go become an entrepreneur. But you also need to take a hard look at the fact that you're going to give up that 40 hours and you're going to turn it into 80 until you figure out how to replace yourself. It is not that simple. So if you're in a career and you have six-figure salary, that's what you really need to assess, not just looking at the number. It's not just about the hype talk, it's not just about I make six figures. You have to understand what it takes to make six figures as an employee versus what it takes to make six figures as a business owner. Very different.
And let's be clear. If you're an entrepreneur, you're still an employee just of yourself. So don't think that you're going to get out of doing a job. So if you weren't a great employee at work, you're probably not going to be a great employee for yourself. So those are some things that you need to work on as well. And those are things that people just don't think about. So.
Well, and I want to talk about, though, being an employee and the ability to earn more over time. I think the attractive part to being an entrepreneur is that there is no cap or limit to the income that you can make. And if you're not in a commissioned position, or if your company isn't bonusing you or giving you adequate raises, you're really in a world of hurt as it is, right? And so I think what we need to talk about, or there was a study that came out, and I was trying to just get my stats here, but on average, the annual salary increase is between 4.2 and 4.6% for an employee. But I also,
which is not even keeping up with inflation.
With the rate of inflation, not even close. But then also switching jobs. I saw a TikTok the other day that was like, hey, people, you're likely to increase your income between 10 and 30% by switching companies, right? And people that are coming in new to an organization are making 10 to 30% more than someone who's been there making small 4.2 to 4.6% increases. So if you ask me, I mean, what's my trajectory, right? I am now working 40 hours a week at minimum. I might be able to leave my job at work and be able to maybe enjoy my life. And as an entrepreneur, though, I don't even know when I'm not working because I thoroughly enjoy the work that I do. And let's keep it a buck. Not everybody is meant or cut out to be an entrepreneur, right? So when you think about what it takes to make six figures, let's make sure that we one, are clear about the fact that any six figures that starts with a one is going to be hard. It might not be enough for you to live the life that you desire, right? Let alone, can you maintain? Can you afford things? And Patty, you can talk about inflation up and down this whole entire conversation, right? About how much it actually costs to maintain your current what quality of living, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah, the quality of living. But I want to say that actually for the last 9 months, wage growth has outpaced inflation.
But it's so far behind. Does it even come close to where it needs to be?
Right.
Like
Well,
it can't. It needs to increase exponentially to keep up with the cost of living and inflation. It doesn't even make sense. You know what? Let me see if I can find this graph I created for someone. Let me see if I can find it.
Go ahead, Patty.
Oh,
No, because I mean, I want you to give stats. Go ahead. Go ahead.
While she was looking for that, I think the only other thought I had on the topic is during COVID, because you had the cost of money being so low, right? The Fed funds rate was at 0%. What happened is companies had access to large amounts of money that enabled growth. During that time, many people would switch jobs every 2 years, increasing their base salary, taking sign-on bonuses, fulfilling the obligation from the previous employer, driving their rates up. That has slowed down. So people who lose their jobs right now, who get laid off, especially in the tech sector, are finding a hard time replacing that income. So it's not as easy to job hop as it once was 2 to 3 years ago. And of course, the pace of inflation, the wage growth is outpacing inflation over the last 9 months. And what's happening is, from what Kelani's point is, we're not really feeling that in our pocketbooks because the cost of living is so much higher. Mm-hmm. The cost of living in many areas has gone down outside of rent and mortgages. So it's really the cost of your housing that becomes significantly difficult. And the truth is that the supply is not going to outpace the demand there. So that was all I had on that.
It could be a generational thing too. And I know I don't want to grow branches on this, but you're talking about changing jobs. Look, shouts out to Gen Z, who will be in a job for 30 days. And if they're uncomfortable, they will leave. If you're a millennial, you are more raised to, like, you stick out the pain as far as being a W-2 employee, right? This is my first, I want to say, year and a half of being a full-time entrepreneur. I've been a W-2 employee my entire life. And there is this mental, it's a psyche thing that makes you feel like, well, at least I have a check coming in every 2 weeks, so you don't have to worry, right? So, but sometimes you are trading your peace for a paycheck, right? And so now being a full-time entrepreneur, look, I have months that are like up and I'm thinking, woohoo, like God is good. And then there are months where I'm like, okay, what the heck is going on? I'm not used to that up and down. I am used to being right here and being steady. However, at the same time, I would not ever trade my peace for a paycheck ever again, right? And so I think everything that you guys are saying is spot on. I love the statistics part of it, but just speaking from a person that I haven't been an entrepreneur, and you're right, Naseema, when you say everybody's not cut out to be an entrepreneur. I have literally had to, like, I've always been a grinder. I'm half Jamaican. I ain't scared of no jobs. I mean, I've always worked really hard my entire life. But at the same time, with that being said, there is this misconception that when you become an entrepreneur, you make your own hours, or that you don't have to work as hard. And shoot, yeah, you do. You're working probably more than you ever have before because you are only relying on you, number one. Number two, like, who else is going to make it happen? So you got to get up and get after it. And if you're not disciplined in time, because I remember when I first started, I'm like, wow, I get to sleep in the morning. Who? No, I don't. I have to set an alarm just like I used to because I got to get to it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I tell people this all the time. I say this in our community in Women in Real Estate all the time. When you want to embark on an entrepreneurial journey, people think, or even when people get real estate licenses, I know there's probably a good amount of realtors watching this right now. When you get a real estate license, you think that means you're going to have a business, and it does not. What they do not teach you when you take that test to get a real estate license is that you are now the CEO of your business. You have to wear every hat. And if you were to employ people to do all of the jobs for every hat that you wear, if they were not to show up or perform, so say you hire somebody to do your marketing and they didn't show up, they were late every day. They forgot to do some of the posts. They didn't create the email blasts. They didn't follow up with the leads. They didn't do any of the things. You would fire them. But people don't hold themselves accountable to that same standard, right? And so I tell people that all of the time. But Jade, you said something that prompted a thought for me. And we talked about this when we did our kind of like test show. We talked about having a lot of hustles, all of us doing a lot of different things, having a lot of different hustles, right? And I want to know if this hustle culture, right? This hustle culture, this side hustle culture, what's influencing that? And is it absolutely necessary for people to be able to make enough money to survive right now?
I want to speak on the hustle culture, and then I'm going to back up. Hustle culture is cool, but I think that we are setting unrealistic expectations for people. It is okay to go get a job. Let me just say that. Everybody thinks that they have to be an entrepreneur, or that they have to have a side hustle, or they have to have. That is not for everybody. And we have to be okay with people that wake up every morning and clock in, and stop dogging them and making it seem like, oh, you don't work for yourself. It puts a lot of pressure on people. Being an employee for somebody, if that works for you, it is okay. Go do your thing and make your coins and go home and be happy. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, the hustle culture for me is an interesting phenomenon. Whether it's just like you're always having to have these side hustles. What I often find is that a lot of people are driven to these hustle cultures because they don't think that they have enough, when really they just need to learn how to manage what they have, and their spending is out of control. And they're not really understanding how money works. Because if you figure out how money works and start making it work for you, then you don't have to work as hard. And that, I'll rest when I'm dead kind of mentality goes out the window, because we need rest. Okay.
Overworking is not a flex.
And then
Overworking
also
is not a flex.
hustle culture is like something that capitalism has bastardized to make it seem like working all the time is the thing to do. And it's really not. So, just take that with a grain of salt, and just understand that why are you hustling? Are you hustling backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on, Naseema. Let's.
Mhm.
So sorry, Patty. I want to just make sure we talk about this for a quick second. So Naseema,
Mhm.
and everybody listening in, if you're just kind of tuning in, you're getting acclimated to the show right now. If you have any questions or topics that you want us to discuss, put them in the chat, and we'll select an additional topic by the time we get done here. But what I want to know, Naseema, is, and I want you to tell your story a little bit. You have paid off over $1 million of debt. Is that correct?
Mhm.
And you teach
Mhm.
people about wealth building. So give us some kind of tactical strategies here. You say that people spend money wrong, deal
Yeah,
with
I
money
mean,
wrong.
yeah, a lot of times people are looking towards like a six-figure goal, or thinking that they need to make money before. Oh, sorry, I'm reading Nika's comment. Anyway, so they're thinking that they need to make more money in order to meet certain goals. When really, when
Before you keep going, let's just address the fact that you delivered NECA's baby, because this is hilarious. The fact that, no, like, for real, you do this in real life, okay?
Right.
I
And you
I
know
love what I
NECA really
do.
well.
No, seriously.
She knows NECA's vagina. Yes.
Very well. Yes, thank you. Yes, so I'm a labor and delivery nurse, right? So, and I'll probably always be a labor and delivery nurse. Um, but the thing is that I have created a career that I don't want to have to retire from, but it's also a career that I make really good money in doing. And so, but once you get your finances in order, like what you understand is that your money, again, like I said, is going to work for you. So, yes, I paid off the debt. I paid off all this debt, but what I really needed to learn was, first of all, how to budget, like, which is like one of those words that everybody is like, deprivation, all these kind of things. No, what a budget allowed me to do was to focus my spending on the things that I really cared about, and cut out spending on things that really didn't matter, things I didn't even remember what I bought. Like, when you buy things and you're just like, I don't even know where that money went, what I spent that money on. It allowed me to be intentional about where my money was going. So that creating that budget, actually having an intentional spending plan, aka a budget, is what enabled me to, in 3 years, be able to pay off $1 million in debt plus build a 6-figure investment portfolio. And it was just that shift in intentionality. I didn't make more. Let me tell you, I was going through a lot during that time. I was going through a divorce. I was in an abusive marriage. I went from being a single mom to being in an abusive marriage to, being a single mom again. So I didn't make more money. But what I did was just really hone in on what was important to me. And what was important to me was making sure that I was in a financial position that I could dip if I wanted to. If I can lose, I can leave a job if that job wasn't serving me. And so, as far as practical tips, it's really about understanding where your money is going, and then creating a spending plan or a budget to make sure that your money is always being aligned with your goals first, and then everything else will fall into place.
I feel like this is a very important point in the conversation to discuss where that comes from. So I can't help but to think about the fact that if you go out and you buy a bag or you buy something and you may not be able to afford it, right? Because I think what you said is hustling backwards, if we translate it or reword it, is simply just living outside of your means, right? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to give off an image. And in some careers, some of that is taught and some of it is brought. But we carry these insecurities with us, especially many of us that don't come from much, right? We carry a lot of insecurities with us, and we say, hey, I feel like I need to look like this part. So I need to live in a certain house. I need to drive a certain car. I have to wear certain clothes. I have to have certain things because this is how I want to be perceived in order to validate my self-worth. I have found time and time again with my own personal finances, with all the problems I've gone through and overcome, and of course, all the ones I've witnessed with my clients over the years that trust me, something I've learned is that reflective process, that purification process, and I'll even call it that when you're dealing with your finances, has a lot to do with just sitting down and looking in the mirror. I was going through my own drawers, just cleaning out the drawers, realizing that I do not belong in Target ever again in my life. Like, I do not ever need to go to Target again. I've stocked up enough on this. I got enough of that. And there is a satisfaction I feel sometimes when I'm stressed to go into the store and spend some money. And so whether it's doing it for retail therapy, whether it's doing to look a certain part, whether it's doing to keep up with the Joneses. And when Kelani and I were talking earlier, we were saying that is really part of the impact that we see, part of the impact that we're seeing with social media, right? And what we're thinking, like, how do people feel when it's down? You were talking about the dopamine hits and what it looks like. Well, a part of it being down is a blessing, right? Maybe it should have been down for a week so you can remember what it looked like to pet your dog and play with your kids and talk to your mom, right? And how those things might, fulfill you much more deeper than scrolling and comparing ourselves to other people. So that was kind of a thought. I just think it would be a huge missed opportunity if we don't redefine hustling backwards as living outside of your means and really diving into whatever it is inside of us, because only you can answer that causes you to want to live outside your means. What pushes those buttons? What are those triggering feelings? How do we address that? How do we heal that? Because I think that that's the greater goal if we're talking about humanity.
That's so good. It's funny, Patty, you brought up comparison. I want to read a study that some information that I got. Pew Research Center says that 69% of adults and 81% of teens in the U.S. use social media. I know we talked about social media a little bit earlier, but this was just a great segue when you started talking about comparison. Because being on social media so much in the world that we live in, to your point, is a lot of the reasons why we compare ourselves so often, and we are so triggered, right? And we are trying to keep up with the Joneses. So I do want to talk about that, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. Do you think that because we're on social media so much, that has heightened, this hustle culture and this life of comparison that we live in now?
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course. Yeah, of course. And I think what's really interesting is in different sectors, right? I'm sure in media, it's all about views and likes and whoever's getting the most traction, and you don't got no buzz and you ain't shit and all that. Actually, from your world, there's one example I have not stopped thinking about. Speedy Mormon, I love Speedy in the entertainment space. He is funny. He is real. I just love his energy, right? And he was talking on TikTok Live, and he told a story about how when he was on his way up and he was looking up to people and giving those compliments, they looked the other way. But when they were on their way down, they certainly were looking back up and raising their hands back up, right? And I think that's a very big issue across all sectors in social media presence, because you think because someone has some sort of traction that they're doing better than you, or that you have to reach up to them for some help, and they're going to look at you, whatever that is. You don't need anybody but yourself. Believe in exactly what you're doing and continue to build in those small segments, and don't compare the numbers. A lot of those numbers aren't even real. A lot of that information isn't real. A lot of those numbers aren't real. Another great example of that, which kind of stung me a little bit today, there was a report, and a reporter is exposing Jay Shetty, because Jay Shetty Jay Shetty himself.
I love him. What?
Me too.
He was accused of massive amounts of plagiarism and a lot of other little things that he completely declined to interview and address, because a lot of what he was saying was being fabricated, and a lot of what he was saying was being copied. So he's doing the copy and paste model, fabricating some of the growth in his life. And when he was presented with those facts, he didn't want to take the interview, right? So you guys have to remember, I tell my daughter this all the time when she's scrolling, baby, they're advertising. Everybody's selling something to you. You are in a world of constantly being sold. And for where I'm from, it's either, you just know better, right? So,
Yeah.
so you just, that game is hard for these young people out here on social media. And so, of course, and the fact that you shared about the 69% of adults being on social media, 81% of teens. You know what the biggest difference is? Obviously, age, right? So the younger the age group is, the more acclimated they are to getting their information from social media. TikTok is the new Google, right? TikTok changed the game for a lot of places. TikTok has a lot of information, but you can't rely on that information. You have to be able to know the difference. So, of course, from a comparison standpoint, from an accuracy standpoint, from the way that you look at someone and you degrade yourself while you're laying there and they're putting on a show. You got to remember that. You just have to remember that. There's another saying that I'd like to just finish this thought with, is that they say, don't ever meet your idols. You go out here and you meet your idols and they're nothing like you thought they were going to be on social media. It's crazy. So baby, do not put me on a pedestal. Please don't ever put me on a pedestal. And whoever you got on a pedestal, cut the legs off right now, because whatever you're comparing yourself to is not worth your time, not worth your energy. And we all got to stop doing that.
That's real. That's real.
Whew. Well, also just some additional data. Back in October, it was published that Facebook, or Meta, is being sued by 41 states for making their algorithms addictive. What? It's that unhealthy. It is literally that unhealthy.
That's so interesting, Kelani. Y'all, we do get down on teenagers because of this addiction that they have, right, to social media. But we also have to take into mind they were born into a world that they don't know anything different. We at least have something to compare it to. We at least actually lived in the world of reality at some point. They literally have never been outside of this world. So that's all they know. 1. 2, we do get down on teenagers a lot too, but I can even attest, I have been on social media before and like my heart is in my stomach and me not realizing why, because all of a sudden I'm feeling so far behind, or I'm like, dang, I got to do more, or that, you know what I mean? Or the pressure of like, I didn't post today. Like there's a level of you're feeling like you're going to be irrelevant, especially from the world that I come from. Right. And so I think your reminder, Patty, is really a reminder, not just for the teens, but for all of us, that it is a lot of storytelling. This is a big highlight reel, right? And half of the highlights are not true. I try to tell the kids when I go speak at schools all the time. I'm not even joking, you guys. I actually know people that when you're on their page, you are like, this is the life that I want to live. I'm talking about Lamborghini trucks. I'm talking about big houses, got the body, the this, the that. But the reality of it is some of these people have called and asked to borrow money. You get what I'm saying? And that's the part that you
Speak
don't.
on it.
I mean, let's just keep it real, you know? So that's the part that we live in such a society that's microwave. And if we learn delayed gratification and actually grasp that concept and taught our kids delayed gratification. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. You know, growing up, I wasn't able to have like all of the name brand Jordans and the this and the that, but my friends did. And I used to think my parents were so freaking mean. I'm like, fam, you got me out here looking crazy. You know what I mean? But now fast forward, because I didn't know that I was learning delayed gratification at that time. Now, everybody who used to get whatever they wanted, all the name brand and this and that when we were younger, they really may not value money and as much as somebody who was not able to get everything when they were younger. So just a couple of different concepts I wanted to touch on too. So, but thank you for that reminder, Patty.
You just said something so important. I was reading this, Kalani, when I was looking at the wealth gap. And Asians are right up there with white people. Okay, Asians covers Indian communities, Chinese communities, Vietnamese communities, Asians. The wealth gap needs some serious looking at. We need to talk about that more next time, Kalani. But I wanted to point out something. I sat there and I thought to myself, why are Asians so outstanding in closing this wealth gap? Because they come from such poverty in their countries that when they come here, the level of focus and work ethic is one thing. It's one thing, because I would argue that all of us know what it takes to work hard. But the difference is, when you don't have nothing, you're almost afraid that you're never going to have nothing again, right? It's the way that they do not spend a dime on interest. It's the way that they will not spend an extra fee. It's the way that they'll travel 5 miles the other way to save $5. And that some of those things we really need to talk about to understand, going back to what Naseema said. It's really not about needing more. It's about looking at what you have differently and cutting it. This is a process of purification I've done with myself year after year after year after year. Because if there was a poster child for trying to be ghetto fabulous, it would be me.
So what are those habits that get passed down generationally, right? I think that there's something to be said for having access to the information, or even that mindset to be able to accomplish the things that the Asian community has accomplished. But before we move on too much from that, I want to say something. Jade, you brought up the fact that people are marketing with Lamborghinis and designer and all of the things. If there is anything that gets under my skin, that makes my skin crawl, that jams my Glock, it is lifestyle marketing. Okay, it is lifestyle marketing. I can't stand it. Because yes, I said jams my Glock. Shout out to the guy on TikTok that made that a thing for me. But I cannot stand it, because I feel like it's okay. I want everybody to hear this from me. It's okay for your goals not to be that. That doesn't make you, that status for you doesn't make you anything. It doesn't determine your value. And any person I know that actually has money is not really out here in the Lambo like that. They're not dripped out in designer 24 hours a day. They're not out here with
actually
crazy
the
jewelry
most common car for the richest people are Toyotas and Hondas.
Toyotas and Hondas. So it's okay for you to aspire to things that provide stability to your life and to your family. That is totally 100% irrevocably okay. And I feel like more people need to aspire to that. Now, one of the things that we said when we decided to come together as this group of 4 women that can talk to these things and speak to these topics is that we wanted to keep it real, right? And so we're talking about social media. We're talking about the highlight reels of what we see and how we compare ourselves, right? And even somebody as accomplished as Patty Goodspeed, top 100 mortgage banker in the country, right? Top 100. That's a big deal. Lady Jade, 20-year vet in the radio and media industry, killing it. Naseema, financially literate, has paid off over $1 million worth of debt, right? I'm sitting here with
and
these people.
Show up to the HR with her attorney. That part.
No, but seriously, I'm sitting here on a panel with esteemed, accomplished women, and we said we were going to keep it real. And the truth is that it's not all glamorous. Whatever you see on our social medias, or whatever you think it's like to be the co-founder of Women in Real Estate or whatever, it's not what you think it is. So I'm going to stop there, because I feel like I'm telling somebody off. I don't know who.
I think you just shared what most people feel. Like, look at what NECA just said. More of this. I've had so many private conversations with NECA. We're partners. She's amazing. We've talked about, we've had crying moments, laughing moments, celebrating moments. One thing I know is that women crave a circle. People crave a circle where we're just not selling anything. And we're trying to offer resources through years and years of experience, through a real lens, having real conversations. So what you said was beautiful, Kalani, as always.
I love that you said, oh, go ahead, Naseema, go ahead.
I was just saying, and I think what draws a lot of people to us as individuals is the transparency, is that they can see themselves in us, because I know for me, I'm not faking it. And
Right.
all of us, I know we keep it real. So
Well, one, I have to meet NECA because Patty has conversations with her and Naseema deliver her baby. So NECA is she's the MVP, obviously, for today
yes, she
in our
is.
audience. And we do see your
Right.
comments, everybody. Thank you so much. I love the fact that we have people in the comments saying things like, it once makes, Latoya said, this conversation makes me want to sit down and rework my finances and the little things that I do and don't need, because that's what this is all about, us to share our experiences. Honestly, I've been inspired by some of the things. I'm going to go back and rework some things myself. And so that's what we want everybody that's on here today to be able to relate to us. I always tell people this, when we're kids, they always say it takes a village. Well, where is the village when we become adults? We still need the village. We need the village more than ever.
Even more.
Yes.
Even more.
Yes.
'Cause
So
we
I'm
need
like,
extra
we are going to
support.
be the village for one another, and we need to continue to be that village because, yeah, it is definitely needed when we are adults. So
My
Yeah.
version of that saying is always saying that sisterhood is really the key to happiness. We're always looking for that right man. We're always looking for that right situation. Sisterhood is the key to happiness because they will get on your nerves. And at the end of the day, if we were pulling up in our living room right now in our pajamas, putting together, we're going to leave there fulfilled. Sisterhood
Yes.
is the key to happiness. We got to be real with each other. We got to love each other for real.
You just made me so happy. That's so true. I mean, I've experienced that firsthand. And so on this topic of, the village, right? Apostle Sean Mark, what's up, Apostle Sean Mark? I also see my godparents in these comments. I just appreciate the support so much. Apostle Sean Mark said, Kelani is assisting in the development of a biblical community we are creating by God's grace, perhaps discussing best practices on community building. So I know we said we would take an additional question. We've got a few minutes left on this live. So let's talk about that. I feel like we're all kind of saying the same thing in a different way. Finding that tribe and having that sense of community is literally what can help make someone quit on a Sunday or continue on a Monday, right? Having that support system, it is crucial. So I will give my 2 cents because community building is my thing, but I'm going to open it up to you guys first. Let's talk about how you're building community among your brands and your businesses and how community has really helped you get to where you are right now.
Naseema.
I'm a community builder, but not intentionally, really. It's because I think for far too long, people have not seen people that look like me talk about things in the way that I talk about things. I keep it real. I share my stories, but I also was brought up with that each one teach one mentality. If I'm gonna learn something, I'm gonna teach it to you. If I know something, I'm gonna put you up on game. And so it's that genuine connectivity that people are craving because like we talked about, so much stuff now is fake news out there, right? And so if there's somebody that looks like you, that can talk like you, that can still cuss you out, and that you have a connection with, that you can see yourself and maybe just has accomplished something that you have never accomplished or thought was impossible. I'm that person for a lot of people, even though like I said, it wasn't intentional. But yeah, I build communities just based off of just being uniquely me.
I need to talk about you for a second because that was really humble. Okay, I think humble is fine, and I think humble is great. But from an outsider looking in, you're a mother juggling children. You have a career. You're a nurse. You're at high levels in your career in terms of earning. What you described to us last time and what you experienced reminded me of how educated and articulate that you are. So it's really building. I mean, it's not a surprise to me at all how people gravitate towards you. We met when you spoke at an event, at a Get Your House in Order event with Felicia back in, I don't know how long ago at this point. And I remember listening to you speak, and I remember the vulnerability, and that was what it was. So you did touch on that. But having someone stand up in front of you and talk about the fact that they're earning wages, they're not earning self-employment income, they're earning wages, they're managing that income on top of having children, on top of homeownership in the Bay Area, in California is extremely inspiring. And I think that for you guys to subscribe and continue to show up to our show to learn more about Naseema alone would be worth it. So because there's a level of brilliance that you exude so humbly, so gracefully, and as a mother. I think there's way too many people that look at motherhood as a crutch, as a debilitating factor. And I think mothers have, an extra battery on their back to make things happen, like you do.
You gonna make a thug shed a tear.
I'm gonna give you your flowers. I'm gonna give you your flowers.
Oh, thank you.
And that was a good call to action. If you have not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe, click the notifications or the bell or whatever they say for the YouTube things. But yeah. Okay, Lady Jade, community, because you are and I'm sure you would be humble in as well, but I had to learn about you. I met you without really knowing, from a personal introduction, without really knowing the fullness. And I probably still don't know the fullness of your influence in your community. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I don't do well talking about myself in this aspect. I will say that my entire career has been built on community, just being honest. I always said I wouldn't have a job, when I was on radio. I wouldn't have a job if people didn't listen. And I always understood why God gave me my platform, and it wasn't for me. My platform was 150% for others. And so one of the things that I love to do is I've probably spoken at 1,000 schools here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, because I knew that what God gave me was for our future generation, right? So connecting with community and being reachable, where people could actually touch me and connect with me on a personal level. I never wanted to create this barrier. We're all supposed to model our lives the way that, and I know that everybody on here may believe differently. So I respect all beliefs. So I can only speak for me, right? But I try to model myself. And obviously we all do a horrible job because we live in sin every single day. So I don't want to compare myself. But the same way, like they said, Jesus was walking with the people. Like I never wanted to be disconnected from people, right? Because people are who make you. People are who keep you going. So I always try to, my mom taught me, like, even though, Jay, you're a leader, you're supposed to be a servant leader first. So and I believe that being a servant is, like, when I'm out doing things, like, I ain't too good to stack chairs. I'm not too good to clean up. I'm not too good to do all of these things. So, yeah, I don't really know how to answer the question, because it's kind of uncomfortable for me in a sense, but I do know that it's the people, it is the community that, when I decided to walk away from radio, why I still have not stopped working, right? Because people have really, 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 truly, truly, like, they rock with me. And it's crazy the connection that we do have. And I'm so appreciative of that. But when you start learning who you are authentically and showing up as your authentic self and not trying to act like you better than people, look, real recognize real at the end of the day, so I'm so appreciative. And I mean, like, even to this day, I wouldn't be anything without community. So definitely love the people, for sure.
And you know what? And if you're uncomfortable talking about it, that's fine. I will say it for you. Who I have gotten to know, who Jade is personally, is beautiful and authentic. And I think that is one of the keys to building community. When you are exposing yourself in a community, now, whether this is a paid online community, which is what I help people learn how to build, or if this is, your essence or sense of community, you cannot fake the funk. Because when you are exposing yourself to people, they are going to call you out on your BS. Period, full stop. So that authenticity has to be there from the beginning in how you interact with people. And if people get anything but something genuine from you, you're going to be knocked off of that pedestal really, really quickly. And not that any of us aspire to be there, but there is responsibility in leadership. Mm-hmm. And if you are not taking your role of responsibility seriously, you don't even deserve to be leading a community, quite frankly, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate everything that you just said there, community in all senses of the word. So, and Patty, we need to talk about the community you've built in your business around Truth Behind the Headlines.
Yeah. I want to say that when I observe Jade, and I'm inspired to just kind of be more free. And I was just telling someone about this. I'm going to expose something vulnerable about myself. I grew up in a little bit of a chaotic environment. And I remember there would be very intense, sometimes violent arguments in the house. And if we stepped out and had to go somewhere and be seen publicly, we all acted like nothing ever happened. And we came back into that came back again at home, never talked about it, and just kept going like nothing ever happened. Yeah. And I had to examine that a little bit. And I realized something. It's kind of why I have this obsession with this polished and, oh my gosh, like, you know, this is how I have to present myself. And I thought about that and I was like, I got to work on that. And when I watch Jade and I see that she's just free and there's this freeness about her energy, I'm really, really drawn to that. And I'm really inspired and moved by that. And I think that part of what happened with my relationship, this is what we're talking about community and why it takes a village. I would never have created that webinar, and I never would be on this show, and I never would have made a fucking video on Instagram had it not been for Kelani pushing me. I wouldn't have. I didn't want people to look at me. I don't want to be seen. I've spent so much time hiding. I've done that for so long. And she pushed me. She pushed me to get in front of people. And I learned that I had so much to say. I learned that I knew how to talk about the market. I learned how smart I was about the economy. I didn't even know I could talk like that. And you'll surprise yourself. And sometimes you need people to see something in you that you can't see yourself to push yourself. We looked at the calendar from when that started back in August 2022 till now. I cannot believe what the numbers have done in terms of traffic and the analytics and the emails and how many people tune in and how many people look forward. To have 150 people show up every single month for almost 2 years to my webinar is a big deal because my shit is boring. I'm not over here talking about the latest news. Like, we're not talking about hot topics. We're not talking about baby mamas and like P. Diddy and stuff like that. We're talking about the economy. It's pretty boring. So I learned so much about myself by my sister, my community pushing me and saying, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And it's taken so long for me to care so much less about what I look like on camera and get out there. And I know that's something a lot of people struggle with. So community is about the 4 people you're sitting on the stage with in your bedroom with, crying to and figuring it out. So they wipe your tears and force you and push your ass out on the stage. And then it goes to growing and building because like what Naseema said, we're relatable. We're normal human beings. There are so many people that look at us and say, damn, I really want to do that. Or I know I can do that because I can see her and she's like me. So, you know, that's what I have to say about that.
Can I say something about you too, Patty? Real talk. You are freaking made for TV. And I'm not just saying it because you're physically beautiful. I'm saying because of like the way you tell the stories, the way you disseminate the information. Like literally every time we're on here and I'm hearing you speak, I'm like, she's going to be on CNN one day. She's going to be like, get ready for God to push you forward because he's pushing you out of your comfort zone. Like you're top in your industry, right? And so the world needs to see that. The world needs to see you. The world needs to see somebody that looks like them, that looks different, that is not only beautiful, but also humble, also articulate, also with a sense of humor, also with a little bit of flaws here and there. You know, like you are what people need to see. Like TV needs new faces, girl. And I'm telling you, everybody, I hope this is being recorded. You mark my word. I'm telling you, you're gonna be on TV one day. People are gonna see you.
With me. If I go, you're coming with me.
And that's on a prophetic word, for real. Yes. It's her delivery. And I've been, from the day that I met her, I said, why are you not talking to people more? It's her gift. Girl. It's truly, God says your gift will make room for you, and it's making room for you. So
I love somebody in the chat put Goodspeed. No, it's Godspeed, girl. You better get ready.
Somebody said Patty for president. I've been saying that for like 2 years.
Wherever I go, you guys are coming with me. That's the truth. Let's do it.
All right, Kelani, what about you?
I don't even remember what my question was
about building community. Building community.
Yeah, I think that building community it's become, first of all, I want to address the fact that it's becoming a buzzword now. It's becoming something that people are marketing to sell nowadays. And all of the social media platforms are offering like community, even on YouTube. On our YouTube page, there is a tab for community, which is really just posting, right? So this idea of community and monetizing community is it's not new. It's just now being recognized for what it is, right? So For example, a Facebook group. One could argue that a Facebook group is a community, or a Discord channel, or whatever is a community. And it is. But what I've learned in running Women in Real Estate, shout out to Women in Real Estate, shout out to all my wire members on this call. I see all of you in the chat. Shout out to my business partner Brittany. Shout out to everybody. One thing I have learned about running a community is that it is hard. And people that are selling community right now, or thinking that they are selling community, or looking to upsell or do the internet marketing, lifestyle marketing stuff to sell community, you guys are in for a rude awakening, because community is one of the most gratifying, fulfilling business models that I've ever seen, just as a professional in all of the different jobs and businesses I've been in. But as someone who runs it, it is the most beautiful environment, and you are really responsible for creating that space. So we talked about responsibility as a leader, and not everybody can run communities, and it is cut out for people who genuinely care for others and are for the people. So I just want to set the tone with saying that if that is you, or if you are somebody who has a business, has an email list, has a following on social media, has connections or with people that have a similar interest, you should be creating a community. Because if you guys didn't notice what just happened about 2 minutes ago, what just happened was that we all just heard Naseema's story, gave her flowers, poured into her, loved on her. We heard Jade's story, gave her flowers, poured into her. We heard Patty's story, gave her flowers, and poured into her. And that's exactly what your community should feel like. If you're not around people that make you feel like what we just witnessed between the four of us, you're in the wrong group. Okay. So you need to be seeking that group. And if that group doesn't exist, create that group. Create it for you and for people that need it just like you. So I guess all that being said, when I think about community, I think of exactly what this show is intended to do and be, and that is to create a community for people to know that you all are not crazy. We are going through things just like you are. Keep going. Keep going. And that's my message for today.
Well, that's what she said. What?
Well, that is what she said.
We're also going to talk about making money, because that's important.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about making money. We are going to talk. We like talking about making money. So, all right, guys, we are. Go ahead, Naseema.
Oh, I'm just always talking about making money. We good.
Always. That is the thing. So before we get off of here today, we're going to go ahead and do a couple quick outros. If you have not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel, click the bell, and also follow me and everybody else on all of our other social media platforms. We're trying to grow them from scratch. So we would love to see you on those other platforms. That's on Instagram at @thatswhatshesaid_show. And I'm sure you can find all of our socials if you search our names, because we are all pretty original in the space. But I'm going to tag some of this stuff on my story. Love to see you all there. Let's go ahead and get some quick outros. We'll go in reverse. Let's go to Naseema, Jade, Patty, and I'll take us out.
All right. Well, I just wanted to thank you all for being here, and to encourage you that whatever you put your mind to, you can do. You are deserving of wealth. You are deserving of a sisterhood. You are deserving of, a beautiful life, one that it fits whatever your idea of, a fulfilled life is. And so we're here for you. We're rooting for you. Just, change that circle of influence.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I love everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to the team. Love you, ladies. You are enough. If you are on here, I just want to remind you that you are enough. And I'm going to quote the good Nipsey Hussle, that if you look at your circle and you are not inspired, you are not in a circle, you are in a cage. All right. Love you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since you came with Nipsey, I'm going to have to give you a little bit of Hove, okay? And listen, one of the things, the lady said the warm and fuzzy stuff, and one of the things I really want to accomplish in this show is making sure people have the tools and resources to be able to make more money or increase your human capital so that you can do better, and that's going to be necessary to survive in this world. So one of the things that I would like to leave you with is a quote from the Honorable Sean Carter, and it says that whenever there's a drought, get your umbrellas out because that's when I brainstorm.
Hey, get it.
We got ideas.
I have absolutely nothing to follow besides the fact that I don't have any cool lyrics coming to mind at this moment. But what I will say is I'm extremely grateful for each of you for being on this show with me, believing in the vision that I have. I know that it's hard for you all to see what's in my head, but for just being down for the cause. We promise to all of you that are here and listening and still here with us that we are going to continue to be authentic. We're going to bring you the real. And if there's anything y'all want to talk about, just let us know. So my name is Kelani Blackwell. Again, the co-founder and CEO of Women in Real Estate. Happy to have you all with us. And we will see you same time, same place next week. Bye, everybody.